Hi, heat embossing is one of those things that you get a really cool technique out of. This example of heat embossing is what we call puddle heat embossing. So we're going to heat up the heat embossing powder and then we're going to stamp into it to create our design. So you're basically using that heat embossing powder as your background rather than the accent piece. So in this example, you'll see that there are butterflies that are yellow and the shape is outlined in brown. So this is how we're going to accomplish that. We're going to use some yellow heat embossing powder. So I'm going to show you how to create that puddle that we're going to actually stamp our image into. So I'm going to take my butterfly, and typically when you're using your clear stamps, you put the solid side or the smooth side down. In this one, we want to use that background to create the outline of where the butterfly is going to go. So I'm going to use my Versamark and I'm going to ink the back of that butterfly. And then I'm going to come and I'm going to stamp it on my paper. And because I'm going to cut these out, it doesn't really matter what size my paper is. You can't really see it there, but it is there. And I'm going to clean off the back of this because I need to use the front of it in just a minute. So I'm going to flip this over and I'm actually going to put it on the dry side of my block so it's all ready to go. Now I'm going to take this bright yellow embossing powder and I'm going to just sprinkle it where I stamped my image. And as I shake it off into a paper towel, that will catch it, and now you can see exactly where that is. And I did miss a little corner, no problem. I just come back, put a little bit more embossing powder on, and I'm all set. I dump my extra embossing powder back into my container so I can reuse that again and set that aside. So now that I have this all done, this next step comes pretty quickly. So I want to make sure I have my stamp ready. I have my brown ink ready because I'm going to ink this and stamp it into this while it's still hot. So I'm going to heat set my butterfly here. And I'm going to go about 2 inches away, and I want to make sure that I'm going from a dull look to a shiny look. So as I see it change, then I'm going to move my embossing gun around to make sure that it's all getting heat set. And I'm going to set this down because I do want to make sure that I can quickly grab my stamp and stamp into that heated image. So while it's still hot, and this does take a little coordination, I'm just going to ink up my butterfly, make sure I've got some good brown ink on there. And this does work best with clear stamps so that you can come back into it. I'm going to quickly set down my gun. So while my embossing powder is still hot, I want to take my stamp and press it down into my image, and then I pull it out and you see I get my stamped image inside of that embossing powder. It just creates a little bit different effect. Now again, for that card, we did multiple ones. You could do just one like this and have just that single butterfly. But it's a fun technique to try with embossing powder. It's a little different, using the back side of your stamp to create the base, stamp the detail into that puddle. Have fun creating.